Hello and welcome to PlumeriaPlay. Today we are going to be tackling the world of building in The Sims 4. This is going to be a base game and beginner friendly build tutorial where we go over everything you need to know to build a house in The Sims. I'm going to have this broken down into sections, so I'll have that in the description below with the timestamps if you want to jump to a specific point. But let's go ahead and hop into the video. So first things first, once you have your sim ready to go, we're going to pick a world to live in, and I'm going to just go with Willow Creek because I feel like that's what most of you guys are going to do with your first build. So just to show you all the way through how to bulldoze and everything, we're going to head straight into this lot, which is Daisy Hovel, and I'm going to show you from build mode how to handle that. But if you know you want to bulldoze the lot, you can do it from right here. Now that we're here at our house, what we're going to do is click on this little icon with the hammer and wrench up top, and that's going to put us into build mode. And you could absolutely edit this lot that already exists, but we are going to be learning how to build from scratch today, so I'm going to bulldoze it using this terrain bulldozer. And we're gonna flatten the lot, and then we're gonna flatten the terrain. And then that gets you started off with a nice blank slate. So now that we've got our blank slate, let's go over the building tools just to familiarize you with this panel. So over here in build mode, there are 3 things over on the side, plus your inventory here at the bottom, which we're not that worried about that right now. But first is build mode, and this is where your actual building objects are gonna be. This is where your doors and windows and your walls and your foundations and your roof pieces and all of that good stuff exist. And then we've got what most people refer to as buy mode, which is where you find your furnishings. And there's 2 different versions of buy mode. There's this one, which is objects by room, and that's the one that we're gonna be focusing on today. But they also have another one, which is items by function. And it's all the same catalog for the most part. This one's just a little bit better sorted, especially if you're a new builder. So now that we've gone over that, let's go over setting up our lot. First, we're gonna head back into the build mode portion of this, and then we're gonna click here on walls by empty room. And honestly, what I would recommend is just clicking around this panel until you familiarize yourself with what each of the different things are. So if you click here, that's where we're gonna get the foundation building tools and the wall building tools. So I'm gonna grab wall tool B, and this is just gonna draw straight lines no matter which way you do it. But if you hold the shift button down, it can turn it into the one that's right next to it, which is the room tool. I personally like building with the room tool, so I'm gonna grab that. And we're gonna try to match the general shape and style of the houses around us. So I feel like it's almost ideal to look around you for inspiration and see what the surrounding neighborhood looks like so your house fits in a little bit better. But I've got 2 suggestions as far as setting up your floor plan goes. The first one is to wing it, which might sound a little silly, but if you just start by placing down a few rooms, so just following the guidelines of the ones around us, we could start with a nice long rectangle, and then we can maybe do a little bump out here on the side, and then you've got a nice little house shape. My other suggestion would be to grab a floor plan from offline. So here's one straight off of Google, and why don't we try to actually build something like this? I think this is quite nice. So here's a bigger image of that floor plan, and this is basically what we're gonna try to accomplish today. So what I'm gonna do is rebulldoze our lot, and then we'll try to recreate this floor plan. The way that I recommend doing this is looking at the general shape of your floor plan and finding where the big shapes are. So we've got our biggest shape right through this area. So first of all, we're just gonna start with a really big square. They have a patio off to the side too, so I'm gonna build our house more over on this edge. So with our room tool, I'm gonna just drag and drop a decently sized square. And then you can also see there's a bump out here in the front area. So we're gonna add our bump out here in the front area, maybe 3 tiles long. And then you can add your porches by grabbing this flat square item and placing it down right next to it. And then you can drag it over to complete. So now we've got a semi shape. Also, there's different room heights. So I wanna build with a short wall height, but you can change your wall heights there. All you have to do is click on it and it's gonna bring up this panel. And these things that kind of look like cell service bars, that's how you change your wall height. Something else you can do with this is raise up your foundation. So you see this little arrow, it's kind of faded, but if you click it, it gets a little more solid, and then you can drag your house up as much as you want to. So we're not gonna go that far, but you've got a lot of free reign with that. I'm thinking we'll probably go about yay tall. And you might be noticing that I'm way too close to the front of the lot. So what I'm gonna do is click this arrow that has the 4 different sides. Then I'm gonna select to move the house, which is right here, and we're gonna grab it, and then we can move it around wherever we want on the lot. So I'm gonna back mine up a good little chunk. So now that we've got our general shape, let's think about our floor plan really quickly and make sure that this size works out before we worry too much about landscaping. There's a few different ways that you can delete walls. The first one being to grab the sledgehammer tool and delete them individually one by one. The second being to have the wall tool in your hand, hold control and drag over the wall, and then it takes it away. That's usually my method, but whichever works best for you is totally fine. So now we're gonna be looking at this floor plan again to recreate ours, and it's not gonna be perfect because we're gonna leave out things like these closets. They're not really necessary for us. If you wanna add a closet, you absolutely can, but you don't necessarily have to take this floor plan as the absolute way that you do it. You can modify as you go. It's just a good way to get you started. So the first thing I'm actually gonna do is draw a wall down here because that is gonna be the separation between the 2 bedrooms and their bathroom seen here. So right about in the middle, we're gonna carve out another little space. And then I've just split up the rooms with some more walls here in between. Now we need to delete this wall so we can have a bit of a hallway situation. So I'm gonna grab my room tool, hold control and drag over that. And then I want my rooms to have just a little bit more shape than they do now. So I'm actually gonna click on this room. And once you click on the room, you get these arrows where you can drag it and move it as you see fit. So I'm gonna drag it a little bit into this room that's a little bit larger. And I'm also gonna drag this one down just a little bit. That way it's just one hallway space between all 3 of the rooms. And this build also has a master bathroom and bedroom. So I say, let's go ahead and create that too. Now, something that I personally don't like in builds is 1-tile hallways. So the way that I'm gonna fix that is I'm actually gonna expand our build out by 1 tile on the right side of the house. Then I'm gonna shrink our bathroom in 1. So you can pull these arrows all around just to get familiar with it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be flexible and movable. So don't be scared to bulldoze and try again or to move your walls around until you get a shape that you're happier with. Now that we've got a semi floor plan going, the next thing I like to do is light it up and make sure that I'm happy with the space. So the saucer lights are the ones that I prefer. You can use the search bar here to search for those lights if you like those as well. Or you can just go to the lights and scroll until you find them. For me, I find searching to be easier, so I'm gonna just do that. And then I'm gonna put 1 light in each room for now. And then when you have spaces that are bigger like this, just put a couple. You want it to just be lit up a little bit. So we'll put 2 in our main open living, kitchen, dining area, and then another one here in this hallway space. So now just for a little quick side by side, you can see that this house is not perfectly the floor plan that we have here, but it's very close and it's gonna work for our purposes in The Sims. So now that we've got our general shape and floor plan of the house, let's talk about roofing. Roofing could honestly be its own video if we wanted it to be. There's so many different ways and styles to roof, but since this is a beginner tutorial, we're gonna keep it pretty simple today, and I'm gonna just show you what I think is the easiest way to roof if you consider yourself to be bad at roofing. So for starters, if you've done what we've done and got a floor plan, there's a really good chance that they have an exterior version of the house with a roof on it. So you kind of have a built-in roof plan if you have a floor plan that you've picked out. So I'm going to show you how to recreate this particular roofing style, which is kind of the main Willow Creek roofing style anyways. For the sake of this roof, we're actually going to need a column. So we're going to head back into the build panel and we're going to click on this little column right here, and that's going to bring us to all the columns that we have available. I'm going to just grab this first one right here. I think it fits the style of our house pretty well. And we're actually gonna need 2 different roof pieces to recreate this roof. So we're gonna start with this one on the edge that's kind of flatter. To recreate that, we're gonna grab this hipped roof. And then you could really just place it down anywhere, because what we're gonna do after we place it is drag it where we want it to be. So we're gonna drag it all the way out and all the way back. And I want my hipped roof to come off a little bit. So if you grab these little arrows on the corners, you can pull the roof out a little bit. The hipped roof doesn't naturally have an overhang, so if you want an overhang, you have to get it, whereas this roof naturally does have an overhang, so if you don't want it, you have to pull it back in. But this is looking a little awkward and a little too tall. So what we're gonna do is click on the roof, and up here at the top, there's a little arrow that points upwards, and that's how we're gonna adjust the height of our roof piece. So I'm gonna lower it down to maybe right there. We can play with it as we go. And then next, to create the roof that is in our inspiration photo, we're gonna grab this gabled roof. And once again, you can kind of place it down anywhere you want, because we're gonna drag it around to get the right size and shape. But essentially, we're gonna put that on top of the hipped roof, and then we're gonna pull it out to where we want it to be. The roof pieces can be kind of hard because there's this arrow that changes the outer edges and there's also this arrow that changes the length of the roof. But basically what we're gonna do is pull it over the entire thing. The thing that I'm going for is for the edge of this piece to meet the corner of the roof underneath it. And then you've got a cute little roof on your house. And you can see it's a really similar roof style to what's happening right over here, but just a slightly different version of that same roof. To make a roof feel a little bit more complete, we're also going to be changing the tiles. For whatever reason, even though this is a perfectly nice tile, it looks a little incomplete if you don't change it. I guess maybe because it's the default, but I think we're going to grab this one. It's one of my favorite ones and replace it. And for whatever reason, that just looks so much better to me instantly. Also, I'm just looking at this and thinking it's maybe a little too tall, so maybe we'll lower it just one down. And then they also have roof trims. So we're gonna grab one of those. I think we're just gonna go with white. You can mess around with it and see which ones you prefer, but something about the roof trim just completes the look a little bit. Now that we've got a layout, a roof, and a floor plan, we are gonna start placing down our windows and doors. I'm gonna just be going with white windows and doors for now. But I'm gonna use the page down button to get back to this view of the house. You can also do that from right here, but you can use the page up and page down button on your keyboard as another option. And if you're ever curious to what the hotkeys are, if you just hover, it will tell you. So if you don't know all the hotkeys, that's okay. And hotkeys could almost be their own video by themselves. But for now, I'm gonna use the buttons as much as possible because I'm assuming if you're a beginner, you're probably not really that well versed in the hotkeys yet. First things first, we're gonna pick a door. Based on our floor plan, our door is gonna go right here. And here's where I deviate from the floor plan. I am gonna place my windows where I think they look best in a Sims build. The windows and doors of a real floor plan don't always look the best in the Sims, so we're gonna kind of take our own liberties here at this point. But just looking at our house again, I think we'll probably place pretty similarly. The only other thing that we haven't done yet is added a deck here on the outside where we're gonna have a little yard space. So why don't we do that first and place that door and then we'll go from there. So our house is gonna have a bit of a galley style kitchen and I think maybe this all glass door could be quite pretty. I'm gonna place that here because we're gonna have cabinets along this wall and along this wall. To get a deck space, we're gonna click here on this foundations and empty rooms. We're gonna grab our flat square and we're just gonna place it up against the house. And to me, that's way too big, so we're actually gonna drag it in some. Probably both ways. We'll just make this a little 4 square platform. Then we'll have a yard space over on the edge, but we'll get to that point later. So let's go ahead and add the rest of our windows and doors. I think maybe we'll go for this as a front door. I think it's quite nice. And then as far as windows go, since we only have base game, it makes the selection a little bit easier. The house that we took inspiration from had a double window here in the front, but you see if you try to place these two down together, they don't actually place together like you might want. So we want to have the two windows merged together kind of like this. And the way that you can do that is if you hold the Alt key, you can freely place anything. So hold the Alt key and you can move everything around and then we can have these two meet in the middle. It's a bit of trial and error to get them to place exactly how you want them to, but if you scooch them together, then you get that exact look that we were going for. I'm going to do the same thing and Alt place here in the front as well. Now you may see once I get to a certain point, it won't let me keep going, and that's because we don't have any cheats turned on. You can certainly build a beautiful house without cheats, but the cheats are nice to have, and I think we're gonna keep the cheats off while we place our windows and doors, but when we go inside, I'll show you how to turn those on. So over on this side, I'm thinking we'll do 2 windows, and then we can maybe even put a little TV in between them right there. This is a bathroom, so I'm thinking a smaller window might be best suited for here. We'll go 1 window right there. We can do a cute little square here at the top of this bathroom. I feel like placing windows and doors is more of a trial and error thing, and don't be scared to take them away if you notice you have too much or add some if you don't have enough. I feel like windows and doors are personal preference. I kind of like a lot of windows and doors. Some other simmers might not like as many windows and doors, and that's totally okay. I like to have just enough where the sides of the house don't look funny, but this is 2 rooms and a bathroom right here, so you don't want it to be completely window overkill or it's gonna be hard to furnish the rooms on the inside. So I'm pretty happy with our windows and door placement right now. Let's do 1 more little window here at the top just to make this little space make a little bit more sense. And now that we've got all our windows and doors placed, let's think about actual exterior colors and foundations and stairs and things like that. So to grab stairs, we're gonna go to the stairs and ladders category. Then just pick whichever one you want. It's no wrong answer. We're gonna keep ours white for now. You're gonna place those down, and then at this point you can drag them to make them big or keep them one tile to make them small. You could fill up this whole space. You could just do one little tile in the corner. It's really up to you how you do this. But for me, I'm gonna go stairs in the center. And then once we have our stairs in the center, we're gonna wanna do a little railing. And there's a few different ways to do this, and it can be a little finicky, so I'm gonna show you. But on half walls and fences, they have this little panel here on the side, and it's very similar to the wall tools. So right now it's gonna automatically place, and you can see where this grayed out box is around this part. You could just plop it down, and it's super easy, and most of the time that works, but you can see it'll take over your wall if you're not careful. So there's that option where it'll automatically place, and if that doesn't work, you can grab this tool and place it down like you would draw a wall, or grab this tool and draw like a room space, how we did the base of the house. But I think that actually works perfectly. Let's think about our house color now. So now we're gonna head into our wallpapers panel of this, and you can see there's a lot of different categories, and there's not really a wrong or right answer as to which category you pick. I feel like for exteriors, most people go with either the siding or brick, but there's also a stone option, which is, you know, technically exterior. But for our purposes, I say let's go with a nice simple siding. In the siding panels, most of the wallpapers have two variants. They have this one that I don't know if you can see it, but it has a small white trim right here on the edge. And then they have a matching variant without that trim. So for our purposes, maybe let's grab this pretty blue color. And you can place it all individually if you want to, but if you hold the shift button, it will color the whole room. And you can see this version has these trim pieces, and so far they seem to be placing correctly, but sometimes those trim pieces will not place correctly. And if that happens to you, they do have a variant without the trim pieces. So you can mix and match the two, and they mix and match flawlessly because they're the exact same other than the corner pieces. Now our corner pieces are placing well, so I'm gonna paint the whole house this pretty blue color with the corner pieces. I do like those corner pieces. I think they look really good. Alternatively, you can use the one without the corner pieces and grab a column to place as your corner piece. And I think this is another nice version, but it's a more expensive way to do it. So if you're trying to do a budget build or anything, it would make it a little bit harder. But this is the part that's a little more freestyle and a little more personal preference, and maybe even a little bit more depending on what style you're trying to build. But since we're going for a very base game at Willow Creek, I think this siding works perfectly. And then I'm gonna just do the matching siding here up top on that top roof piece. I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but you can also change the time of day so you can see your house in different lightings. And I'm actually gonna start building in the afternoon just because I like the way this lighting looks on the lot a little bit better. So now we can change our foundation up. I think a little brick foundation on this would be lovely. I think the red and blue would pair nicely together. And the foundation's gonna automatically place on rooms. So where it's trying to place right here is our bathroom, and then where it's trying to place here is our master bedroom. So you just have to go around the whole house and place it on each of the different room spaces. Now to finish off our stairs, we're gonna grab the railing that matches. It can be a little difficult to find the match. It doesn't have to be completely perfect. I find most of them work well together for the most part. And I'm just grabbing ours in white. And then we're gonna use the eyedropper tool. You can grab that from right up here or hit E on your keyboard. We're gonna copy the fence, and we're gonna place this fence here around the place where our side yard is gonna go. And then we're gonna use the eyedropper tool again, so this right here, to copy it and add our stairs here in the back. So if you know you want it to match, that eyedropper tool is very helpful to have. I'm gonna keep our stairs one tile wide because I do not like the way it makes the foundation clip. I'm not a big fan of it. So one tile wide stairs here are perfect. And then we'll also eyedrop over the fence railing just so they match on both sides. And then if you ever want to save yourself a little bit of money, you can delete the underside of your stairs and you get a lot of money back. So if you're doing a budget build, that's just a little tip. So now we're going to go into the floor and ceiling paints because we want to get a little bit of floor here on the front so it looks a little more complete. I honestly feel like a nice wood could be lovely. I actually think that works perfect. And that was the first swatch in this antique wood strip. But like I said, play around with it. This is the point of the build that's just fun, and you can try and use different items and see what you like best. That's the funnest part about building, in my opinion. So now that we are done with the exterior outside of the landscaping, which we're gonna do last, Let's head inside and think about our floor plan and where we're gonna have everything set up. We went with an open concept kitchen, living, dining room situation. So we're gonna start with our kitchen first. Since we decided to pick a real floor plan, we already know where we want our kitchen to go, and that's gonna be on either side of our deck door. So this is gonna be more of a galley style / island kitchen. And I think we're gonna continue to keep things pretty simple and neutral. So I'm gonna just place one counter here on this side because this is where our fridge and our stove are gonna go. And then each cabinet, for the most part, have two different variants. They have this one that's just the simple cabinet, and then they usually have one that's an island version of the cabinet where you can place bar stools at. So we're gonna place 3 of those here along this side. I'm gonna put my sink in an island. Then you can even grab some cute little bar stools to place as seating. And this is a fully functional kitchen. Technically, to make a fully functional kitchen, you need 4 tiles, a fridge, a stove, a tile for a sink, and a tile that is open for your Sims to cook on, which means that we'll be able to clutter up some of these other spaces. But before we get to cluttering, we're gonna get the whole house laid out first. I like the idea of our living room space being right when you walk in. If you're ever not sure how much space you have for a living room, my suggestion is to grab a rug, and that's usually a good indication of the space that you have. And you can see this rug is not really placing in a very good spot for our living room. So I'm gonna hold the Alt button to scooch it where I want it to be. And I'm also kind of thinking maybe these windows are not that well placed. Maybe we should scooch them over some. I'm gonna grab just this nice little base game couch. And then here is where you may want some cheats available to you, because I think it would be really nice to have a chair placed here in the corner. But you can see we can't really do that without having to have it out in the middle of the floor. So what we're gonna do is open our cheats menu by clicking Control-Shift-C, typing in testing cheats true, enter, and bb.move objects, enter. So now move objects is on, and we can put this chair in that corner if we want to. And you can, honestly, you can clip and stuff. So you have to be careful if you do decide to use cheats, but I do feel like it ultimately helps the build out because this little chair in the corner is so cute and we wouldn't have been able to do that otherwise. We're gonna grab a little simple coffee table and we're gonna alt place that just a little bit so it doesn't clip with our chair. And then at this point is when you can get your little TV. I'm thinking about it and maybe it makes more sense for us to turn our living room this way. So we could scoot all our items over here. The TV will be under these windows, which now look at it, this is not placed very well. So I'm gonna scooch those over to be centered. And that's why you don't be scared to move around your floor plan. So now you'll walk in straight to the living room area and then we can put a little dining table here behind the couch. And that's the exact same space where we wouldn't have had room for a dining room table before, and now we do. I think we'll just grab these matching blue ones that are in the living room. These wood tones not matching is driving me kind of crazy. But that's just an issue with The Sims 4, so maybe let's pick out a different, oops. And this is the undo button. Welcome to the undo button. If you decide you didn't want something to be done or you even want to redo what you have done, those buttons are your friends. So we're gonna grab our sledgehammer tool to delete these items so we can pick different ones. We are using the buy menu, but we are using the objects by room. So essentially we're gonna go to each section of rooms and click on the item that we're looking for. That's the easiest way, especially if you're a beginner, to find the items that you're looking for. The whole catalog can be a little bit overwhelming. I think we're gonna go with more of this baby blue color. I think I prefer that look. You can also recolor existing items by using the design tool. So let's say I want this chair to be a different color. I can actually hit the R button or click on this little color swatch area up here to then change this to whatever color I want it to be. So now that chair matches these chairs right here. You can also filter items in the panel by clicking here. We're looking for blue stool, so why don't we sort by blue and see what our options are. So we've kind of got a baby blue and a navy blue thing going, so maybe it would be nice to go with these navy blue bar stools. And you may notice we haven't done things like put down flooring and wallpapers. I personally save those until later, until I get a general layout. But everybody does it a little bit different. So if you want to start with your flooring and your wallpapers, that's absolutely fine too. Everybody builds a little bit differently. As far as floors go, I say let's pick just this nice dark wood floor. And now that we've got our general layout and we know that this floor plan works, let's turn off our grid so we can see what's going on a little bit better. You can do that by pressing the G button. So what I'm gonna do now is start getting our floor and wallpaper in this area. Although look, we have not actually gotten our doors yet. So I'm gonna grab this simple white door. We're gonna have a door here into a master bedroom, door here into master bathroom, and then in our hallway space, we'll have a door to each of the bedrooms and the bathroom space. I'm also gonna grab this same wood floor and put it down in all of our bedroom spaces. And now let's think about painting in the living room and kitchen area. There's several different things here once again, but why don't we think about maybe a tile backsplash to put here in our kitchen? It would be lovely to have something with a little bit of blue, so maybe we could go with something like this. Oh, we could even go with this. And then that mixes in a little bit of that beigey yellow color. So now I'm gonna go to just regular paint and see if I can find a beigey yellow color that I like. Maybe even this darker beige could be good. That's maybe a little too dark for my personal taste. So let's see if we can find something a little more creamier. And this is all where it comes into personal preference and style. But I think for me, that's what we're gonna do. No, it's not. I don't like it. We're gonna grab this one. This feels better to me. The other one is just a little too yellow, and I kind of want to continue to keep this as a simple build, almost as like a builder grade type build. So we're gonna use this all over. You can hold the shift button and paint the entire room. If we do that though, it's gonna paint over our tiles. Alternatively, you can just use the Alt button to paint the wall that you're on. So if you paint shift, it's the whole room. If you hold Alt, it's just the wall that you're currently hovered over. And then we've got this massive blank wall space, which is never really my personal preference. So what we're gonna do is maybe find an art piece to put there on that wall. And we're gonna want it to be just a little bit bigger. You can also make photos bigger or smaller by using the left and right bracket keys. So why don't we actually make this a very large piece of art? You can hold the Alt button to move things around, but let's say you like where it's slotted, you just want it to be a little higher up, but maybe not quite this high up. You can also use your 9 and 0 keys to raise and lower the objects. And we'll raise it up a few times. And then that takes up that nice blank wall pretty well. You may notice that we are running out of money and we still have several rooms to furnish. If you want to do a budget build, you would need to decide where you wanted to cut back. But just for the sake of a build tutorial, let's talk about money cheats. So there's a couple. We're going to open our cheats menu with Control-Shift-C. You can type in ka-ching to get 1,000 simoleons. You can type in motherload to get 50,000 simoleons, or you can type in money and the amount that you want to have, and that will be the amount that it sets your money to. So several different ways to cheat for money. Let's just give ourselves 25,000 simoleons for now. So now we're missing a handful of things in my opinion. Firstly being maybe something here on the walls. So let's head back into our kitchen section and grab some cabinets for the top. This one happens to have a matching set of cabinets, so we'll grab those. You can click on these cabinets, and if you click on these little cogwheels, you open up a panel of way more cabinetry options. So you can have a really tall cabinet right here if you wanted, maybe even a small one above the fridge. There's left and right cabinets that you can choose from. There's different end pieces. So you have a few choices here. But for our sake, let's grab an end piece, a short cabinet, and then we're actually gonna go back into the stoves and grab a hood vent to go over our stove right here. I think that that looks nice and complete. It feels a lot better to me than it did before. At this point, I'm pretty satisfied with the way this is looking. Since we're keeping this tutorial beginner friendly, we're gonna get into the clutter and things towards the end of this build. So why don't we move on into our master bedroom next? In my opinion, the best way to furnish a bedroom space is to pick an item, whether that be a bed or a rug or something like that, to base your color scheme around. Since we're only doing base game, we have pretty limited choices. But how about we maybe do this cute little plant bed? So we'll have a nice little green and white color scheme. For whatever reason, there's no rug selection in the bedroom, so I'm gonna just hop to the bathroom area so I can pick a rug out. Maybe just a nice beige is the move. I think that's fine. And we've got a bit of a double door moment happening here. So I'm actually gonna grab this door and use the greater than, less than key to turn it so it faces in. That's just a personal preference thing. I don't know why. I just think it looks a little bit better. And I'm going to space them out where they're even, and we can do a nice little art piece here on the wall. Since we're going for a bit of a plant theme, why don't we grab this one that's just a cute little plant? We can size it up one with our right bracket key. And since we're going for a green theme, going back to the build mode portion and clicking on the wall patterns, why don't we grab a cute little green wallpaper? I really like this one that has the trim at the bottom. I feel like it adds just something to the wall that's a little bit nicer. And then here over on this large blank wall, I think would be a great place to put a dresser. If you have a big blank wall in a bedroom, the way that I usually do it is dresser, plant, mirror, and honestly, it's never failed me before. We could go with this dresser right here with a cute little mirror in the corner and maybe a nice tall plant on the other side. And I just grabbed it in a random color, so now I'm gonna change it to be a little white vase. Maybe a good art piece could be nice over the top of this. How about the little pear painting? I feel like that kind of matches the color scheme. And then the last thing that we're gonna get for this bedroom is some curtains. This is once again personal preference. I'm just gonna grab these small white ones. I think we're gonna use these throughout the house. And actually, speaking of which, I did not put any in the living room, so maybe let's go add those in there. If you're ever not sure what to do with curtains, I find simpler is better, so just grab a nice pair and go with it. Also in this bedroom, since we've got a lot of things over on this corner, we'll just do one nightside stand over on this side. And we're going pretty simple with the white furniture, so we'll continue that theme. And if it bothers you that this bed is clipping here with the curtains, what we're gonna do is grab the bed, hold our Alt key, and just scooch it out ever so slightly until it's not clipping anymore. We'll do the same thing with the nightstand. I find the nightside stands place way too far away from the beds. So if you can hold your Alt key to scooch it in some, it helps clear that gap space. Since this is a beginner-friendly tutorial, we're not going to discuss the alt cluttering yet. That could quite frankly be a video in and of itself. But what we are going to do is grab a little lamp to go here on this nightside stand. Maybe just this one right here is nice. They even have a cute little green version of that swatch. I am feeling like this little area over here is a bit empty still. So how about we grab another little plant to go over there. This one that is tall and skinny is like so good for little spaces like this. So I think that's perfect. And now we've got a cute little planty room. Heading into our master bathroom area, tile is gonna be the next thing that we pick. Since we went for kind of a blue theme out here and a green theme out here, maybe I'll stick with something a little more neutral in here. Maybe this nice terracotta tile could be nice. Oh, we could even use the same wallpaper that we used in the kitchen. Oh yeah, that looks good. I find too, if you're doing a build, it looks a little more cohesive and realistic if you move some of the same colors and items around. So most houses would have the same tile in the kitchen and bathroom, and that just makes it feel a little more realistic. I think that orangey color was a little too stark, so we're gonna change it out for this beige tile. And once again, this is personal style preference, less so than it is just how to build. So I'm just walking you through my thought process so you can think about how you might want it to look. Now this bathroom is decently big. We've got our door right here, and then the rest is pretty fair open space. I think since we've got our door right here, it might be nice to have a sink here right when you walk in. I think it could be nice to center our sink here in this wall. I did hold the Alt key to get it placed there more in the middle, because otherwise it's going to be next to the door or next to the wall. And we want it perfectly in the middle of those two things. So this little beige mirror is nice, but it's sitting a little too low for me. So first I'm going to Alt place it to get it above the sink where I want it. And then I'm going to use the 9 key to raise it up a couple of times so it's not clipping with the faucet. I feel like this area is screaming for a shower tub combo. So we're going to go with that, and then just a little toilet in the corner. And I feel like honestly, as far as the bathroom is concerned, you don't want to do way too much more. We are going to do some clutter though. Toilet paper, in my opinion, is a must. I think it's quite nice to have something above the toilets. So maybe we'll just do a little towel up there. We'll get a nice navy towel above the toilet. And then you can even grab this little shower caddy option to put it in your shower to make it look like you have more shampoo bottles and whatnot. It's not necessary, but I do think it's cute. And the last thing I feel like you need to make a bathroom look complete is a little rug to step out on next to your shower. I think let's use the recolor tool, which is this right here, and change this to maybe a lighter beige color. And that is gonna be our simple bathroom space done. You can definitely decorate more, but once again, for a beginner tutorial, we're gonna keep it pretty simple. And I'm gonna just copy and paste everything over into this bathroom. So using the eyedropper tool or the E hotkey, we're gonna grab this wallpaper, hold shift to place it in the whole room, and do the exact same thing with the tile and with all of the bathroom stuff. If you have a mouse and you're wondering how I'm turning the camera around like this, I am on the Sims 3 camera. I find that to be much easier to use than the Sims 4 camera. And if you hold the little wheel on your mouse and click it down, you can then spin your camera all the way around. That honestly helps so much. You can also spin your camera around using the greater than and less than symbols, but you cannot do that if you have something in your hand because then it wants to turn the item. But you can hold something and spin the camera if you use the mouse trick. And now this bathroom is also complete with the exact same items and a completely different layout. So you can mix and match different setups. And this bathroom would still function even if it was one tile skinnier, but we did make it a little bit longer for the sake of the room shapes. I do want to get a little curtain or something on these bathroom windows too. I really like this one for bathrooms, but it's quite big. So we're going to use our left bracket key to size it down a couple of times. And then it places kind of in the middle, so you can use your 9 key to raise it up. And we're just using that exact same trick here in this bathroom. Something else that's helpful to note, that if you grab an item and you hold shift and drop it, then it'll automatically duplicate another item for you. So I feel like this room could use a little bit more light as well as this one. So I'm gonna drop an extra light in both of those. We've already gone over the decorating, so I'm gonna get basic decorations in both of these bedrooms and then we will pick back up from there. Now that both of those rooms are decorated, the first is a boy-child's room that's kind of blue and green dinosaur themed, and then a girl's teen room that is a little yellow and pink, and pretty simply done. Now let's talk about clutter. So they both have desk spaces in their rooms, and you can alt place clutter, but let's just talk about clutter if we're not getting into all of that. So my first recommendation is a bookshelf, especially on a desk space. I think it just helps fill it in a little bit. And then as far as other clutter goes, let's go to objects by function. We're gonna go into decorations, which is right here. And then we are gonna go into the clutter panel. And then that is where we can find all kinds of good clutter options. So here is a pen and pencil holder. We can add that on her desk. And this kind of stuff just helps a build feel a little bit more finished. So maybe she's got a little basket of lotion and maybe some extra books that she's reading here on her nightside stand. You can still hold the alt button to spin it without having to try to alt place every single little thing. We'll do something similar here in this room. So here's a cute little clutter basket that has a dinosaur toy in it. Perfect for this room. Then maybe just a small little pear painting or something on the desk. As far as kitchen clutter goes, we could maybe get some utensils here next to the stove. Maybe a nice fruit bowl could be good. You can also go to objects by room, and there is a miscellaneous decoration option here in the kitchen, and there's a lot of kitchen clutter there as well. But you may notice this paper towel holder just won't really place next to the sink like you might want it to be. So what you can do there is pull this counter out of the way, grab this item, hold Alt, and then get it right around where you might want that to be, and then put the sink back. It's a very difficult to do and it takes a lot of tries, but you can do that to try to get more accurate placements. Just keeping in mind when you do this that you do need at least one counter space completely uncluttered. So I'm pretty happy with the inside of our house as it stands, and I think the decorations are nice. And once again, decorations are to each their own, so definitely test it out and try to figure out your style when it comes to that. But now let's head outside and do probably the most daunting thing about a Sims build, which is landscaping. So the thing about landscaping is that there's a lot of different ways that you can do it, and everybody has their own style, but it's what I find most people have the hardest time doing and what I get the most questions about in my builds. And honestly, landscaping could probably be its own video easily. We're gonna go over a couple of different kinds of landscaping and just a few tips and tricks that I have to make it a little bit easier. We're gonna actually start though with a fence around our backyard because we need to cut a few areas out. We're gonna switch it to the white fence. We're gonna grab our place fence by drawing them tool. And then over here, we're gonna draw our fence. Now, the thing with fences, if you click the house and you start drawing out, it's gonna have a foundation on it and you probably don't want that. So we're gonna start drawing it away from the house and then connect it to the house. And then there won't be any kind of foundation on your fence. The only thing about fences is you can't place them right next to the boundary. You have to have at least a tile in between those spaces. So we're gonna do a little half-yard fence. We're gonna leave this mostly open, but we want it to be closed out from the front. And this is actually an excellent place to put our trash cans, right here in this little nook space. You only need one trash can, but I do think it looks kind of nice sometimes if you have a couple of them. It feels realistic to me, but we're gonna alt place just to get them close together. And speaking of trash cans, I went and did not put one inside the house. So let's go ahead and grab one of those. You can find the trash cans here in this kitchen area. We'll just grab a little white one and push it here against our island space. But back to the landscaping, because that's what we're out here for. There are two types that I want to go over today. One is what I like to call structured landscaping. And in structured landscaping, the way that I see most people do it and the way that I do it is to grab a little fence, like this low-lying fence right here, and then you're gonna carve out a place for your landscaping to go. So maybe let's say you wanna have it here in this front section, and then maybe another little bump out of landscaping right over here, all the way up to where this fence is. Then what you could do is grab the floor tile. It's under a weird spot. You'd think it'd be here under outdoor, but it's actually under miscellaneous, and it's just this dirt patch right here. And my recommendation is to pick a bush and to pick a flower. So let's grab a bush. So pick a bush and then pick a flower, and then you're gonna line the flowers up and just hold shift so you keep it in your hand. If you don't hold shift, you'll let it go. But if you hold shift, then you can just place a big row of them. And then you're gonna do something similar over on this side. The only thing being is that this bush does not fit where I want it to go. So we have a couple options. We can either back up this area or we can change our bush out. So we can delete this one, grab this one, which is the starter hedge, which is a good go-to. And same thing, if you just hold shift, you can keep placing it down and you'll get a whole little hedge bush. It's a great bush to line up. And if you're not good at landscaping, this bush is gonna be your best friend. I use it all the time still. I just think it looks nice and structured, but it still gives some greenery and it looks decent. So that is your first option, this kind of structured style landscaping. Alternatively, there's what I call standard Sims landscaping. And there's multiple ways to do this, but I'm just gonna tell you how I do it. I start with terrain paint. So I like this dark soil right here. It's under the terrain tools and then under the dirt and sand. I'm gonna use this circle brush, but let's lighten it up just a little bit. And this size is good for me, but you can change the size of your brush right here. So if you want to do it really tiny, you can, or if you want to do it bigger, you can. But the way that I like to do this is to carve out the space in which I want my landscaping to go, which for this house is going to be right here in the front. And then over here, we'll do like a little circle of it and we'll fade it out. And don't be scared to retry. So if you do it and you don't like the area that you did it, just undo. So we're gonna just do like a little circle under the house right here, just for some on both sides. I wanna bring this up just a little bit so it feels a little more even with the other side of the house. And then what I'm gonna do is lay out where I want my other terrain paths to go. So I'm gonna grab this cobbled together one. I think it's a good option if you're newer to landscaping. We're gonna make this just a little bit bigger. And we're gonna have a few different places. So I'm gonna bring this all the way up to meet the sidewalk. And I kind of wanna fan this out a little bit just personally. That's how I like it to look. But once again, don't be scared to try again because that was like too much fanning. So I want it to be right about there. And then making this a little bit smaller again, I'm gonna take this same path and we're gonna circle it around to get to our backyard space. So I want it to kind of curve and then meet right up here with the rest of our path. And the terrain tools can take some getting used to, so don't get too frustrated with it. Just try again if you don't like how it looks. You can keep adding, you can take away. There is an eraser tool. If you decide you don't want a piece, you can erase it. You can undo it completely, but just keep trying and you will get a result that you like. So I'm gonna add our mailbox back here towards the front. Let's do it right here. And then now I have a few patches of where I want my landscaping to be. And I'd actually like to even add a few more patches for just random little grass bits here and there. So maybe like one right up in the front and maybe we'll do a tree over on that side. Okay, I like the general structure of this. So let's get into what I like to call typical Sims landscaping. I feel like it's what you see the most. We're gonna start in our shrubs, bushes, or whatever you wanna call them. And you are looking for anything low-lying. So you can use this green grass. If you have other packs, there's a lot of other low-lying options. My personal favorite is this low-lying yellow plant, and I think you'll find that that's a lot of people's personal favorites. So now we're gonna take this and follow along the line that we've already set up. Make sure to hold your shift key so you keep replacing it. And we're essentially gonna line this whole edge with this plant. Kind of like that. You wanna turn it a few times just to make it look a little more wild and a little less structured. So don't hesitate to kind of place it around. And then we're gonna just do the exact same thing over on this edge. So now that we've got the general structure, I like to place a few of these just around and about on the inside just to fill out the greenery a little bit better, and it kind of already did over here. Luckily, we're using a foundation so we don't have to worry too much about clipping, and that's another reason I really like to use foundations, especially if I'm gonna do this landscaping style. But now that we've got our low-lying flower, what we're gonna do is find a taller bush that we want to use. So maybe we go with something a little less structured like this one. And we're just gonna place that around and about in a few areas. The less structured it looks, the better. And you can also size down the bush with the left bracket key to place it in a couple of spots as like a double bush type moment. Hopefully I'm explaining this well. This is kind of a hard thing to explain. But the goal is to not make it look symmetrical. The goal is to make it look like it's a little bit more wild of landscaping. So now that we've got those placed, we are going to find maybe one more type of shrub of some sort just to keep adding in some different textures. I really like this fern option. So we can add this in here and there just to give it a little more depth. And once again, this is an item that can be sized down, so don't hesitate to do it in different size variants. I think that's part of what makes this landscaping look good. And then last for this, we're gonna wanna pick a flower. I quite liked the yellow that we had earlier. And you don't even necessarily have to just pick one bush and stick with it. You can grab a couple of different ones. You just want to pick kind of a color theme. It's not necessary, and I feel like different builds bode better for different things, but I would maybe pick 2 different flower colors to use and mix in around and about. So for our purposes, let's go for this orange and this yellow kind of tone, and we will mix them around and about. And the best way I can think to explain it is find places where it looks like you need to fill it in and fill it in. You want to take the shape of the landscaping and really fill it out. So we're going to continue to do the same thing over on this side. And if you find maybe like, oh, I need another patch of greenery somewhere, copy one of the bushes that you placed down earlier and put it back down. It doesn't have to be perfect, and ideally it won't be perfect. If it's too perfect, then you probably didn't quite get it right. But I think this landscaping for this area is kind of nice, but it's looking a little bare here in the front a little bit. I like this space, but maybe we need a tree or something just to offset some of the different heights and whatnot. So I'm gonna go into our tree category and see if I can find something. I love this little tree, so I use it often. I just think it's cute. And if you wanna make it look more a part of the build, copy some of the flowers and bushes that you've been using and you can place them around that tree for a little bit more growth. So if you do that, just make sure you come back with your landscaping to make it look a little more finished. So that's our general landscaping in the front. I'm pretty happy with it. So why don't we move back to our back area? Maybe let's continue this little rock path that we have and we can make a cute patio area out here. So I'm gonna size this back down and we'll snake this through. And then I kind of actually would like the patio area to be this whole backyard space. So I'm gonna grab this square tool so we can get a little bit more structure. And we'll just block out a little patio space for ourselves. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's still a loose gravel, but I'm gonna just block out the area all the way to the edge of the house. And I think I actually want this fence to line up with the edge of the house a little bit. And I'm actually not loving how that looks. So what I'm gonna do is get the eraser tool and we're gonna kind of fade out little pieces of it just to make it look a little less structured. It's a little too much in my opinion. So I'm just gonna kind of erase that around and give it more of a natural look. If you erase a little too much like I did right here on our path, then we'll just re-grab that same terrain tool. Make sure you have your brush in hand and you can make those pieces meet again. So now we've got a cute little space that we can do maybe a patio and grill type of situation. So let's head into our outdoor furniture and maybe grab a nice grill. I think this one looks pretty good. And then we'll click here under outdoor furniture to find a patio table. I kind of like this one with the umbrella, I think. Oh, maybe this one with the colored umbrella because then we can get a nice baby blue. And these chairs match it perfectly, so I'll just grab some of those. And we do have a kid here, so we're gonna want something for them to do. So let's head into outdoor activities and see if we can find anything. How about we get a cute little monkey bar set, and we can just kind of slip that in right back here. So the kids can play on the monkey bars while the parents have a barbecue. And honestly, I think that might be our build tutorial done. Let me guys know if you're interested in a part 2, or if you'd like me to elaborate on any of the points in this video. Building can be a little daunting in The Sims, so I completely understand that this is not the most comprehensive build tutorial ever, but I do think it's very beginner friendly. And if you're just getting started, I think this is a really great set of tips to follow. But like I said, things like cluttering and landscaping and roofing could really all have their own videos. They're so in depth. But let me guys know what you think of this video in the comments below. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, if you've made it this far, comment our secret emoji down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye!